Hey everyone, thanks so much for tuning into this next step of the new construction process. This is the third video of the 4-part series, and we are going to discuss selecting your options. All right, so today we're going to go over, this is the most exciting step, which selecting your options is always fun, but I will suggest having a Pinterest board ready, really going into the process already knowing an idea at least of what you're wanting. And I say that because when you get into the design center, it can be slightly overwhelming because there are so many options. So I always think it's really helpful, and I find it easier for clients who come in who have a vision. If you haven't already, don't forget to snag my new construction guide. I'll send you the free and easy download. For step 3, you'll find a fun interactive chart for selecting your options. Now let's get into it. Once you've selected your builder, you will submit a pre-approval or proof of funds from the bank and then sign a contract with them. And I will help you review the contract and make sure you get the best deal possible. Next, the real fun begins. You'll start selecting your options. If you're doing a custom build, you will have to select everything. For a planned development, there isn't as much flexibility as you usually have different option levels to choose from. So when you go to the design center, basically like for cabinets, they'll have level 1 through 5. Usually the first level is the less expensive, and then going up, the more expensive that it is. The same thing for flooring and carpet, everything. And then you basically are just choosing what color you want and which level. Just to give you an idea, some examples of choices could be the color schemes, flooring, cabinetry, light fixtures, doors, window hardware, countertops, tile, the list goes on and on. The meeting itself, it just depends. Every builder is different, but it typically ranges, I want to say, from like 3 to 5 hours. And with some builders, it's done over 2 days versus 1. Being prepared with your choices at each stage will help keep the build on schedule. Most builders have someone who will work with you to let you know what stage they are on and which decisions are coming due and when they will need to be made. I will mention that, typically there's this project manager who is in charge of everything. He's like the main point of contact. He is the one who keeps us updated through the stages and the decisions that are coming due. But Amy is my transaction coordinator. She's amazing. We've been working together now for almost 2 years. And she is amazing, and she helps me stay on top of them and communicates with them weekly to know of any updates. So she's really, really helpful for us during the whole process. It's important to know what rooms and features are your priority. It could be helpful to make a needs versus want list for this, or to fill out the chart on my new construction guide. As far as the design center, I wanted to set you up for success and just let you know a couple other things to be aware of. So typically when you go to the design center, you are, like I said, choosing all the things, right? But you are typically having to pay a certain percentage when you are there. So the best way for me to explain this is, like, we want the house to appraise, right? So let's say you're building a $300,000 house, for example, for this video. And let's say, with all the things that you pick, the flooring, the type of kitchen, things can get really expensive in there quite quickly. And so you're usually allotted, for example, let's say like you can come to the design center, but you can only pick $40,000 worth of options to finance because the house needs to appraise. So the lender hires an appraiser to go out to the property to appraise the value on what it's worth. And the reason why that's done is the lender who's lending you this money, it's a huge risk for them, right? So they want to make sure that the house is worth what we are under contract at in order for you to get loan approval. So let's say they're like, okay, you can only spend $40,000 in the design center, which would make your loan, let's say $340,000. Don't be overwhelmed by this. We will break into this more details. It's all case by case. I don't want you to feel overwhelmed by these numbers, but let's say with the design center and your home, it's $340,000. Well, let's say you get to the design center and the things that you want, that it ends up going over that allotted amount, which is always really important to find out what that number is ahead of time. So let's say we get there and let's say that, well, we ended up spending $350,000. So what most builders do, they're all different. So you got to educate yourself on this, which that's what I'm here for. But for the purpose of this video, typically, let's say you went over $10,000 of what was allotted. Sometimes you have to pay 10 to 20% of that amount. Sometimes you have to pay the entire amount. So it just depends. But I think knowing this information ahead of time will set you up for success. It's typically just a certain percentage over. So it's just going to educate yourself ahead of time that sometimes the buyer maybe asks for a design deposit or to pay these extra fees out of pocket. A couple other questions that I think is important that I think sometimes buyers forget about. I'll list a couple more on here for you. And that is the lot dimensions. Talking about like the landscape and like how many trees are they going to be putting on this lot? Is there a preserve nearby? Is there going to be some type of buffer behind you if there's not other homes? Really educating yourself like, okay, can they eventually build behind us, or is there going to be some kind of preserve or buffer? Now, if you're wanting to build a pool, you want to make sure and confirm that the lot is large enough for the particular pool size that you're looking for. Another question is the type of fencing. So usually the HOA has certain specifications on this. So making sure that you know what this is ahead of time. And then sometimes buyers don't know that when your lot, if it's on any type of water, that a lot of times the builder will require for you to have the, you can't have like a serious privacy fence, something super high where you can't see through. They require that along the back of the property, along the water, that typically you have to have a black aluminum fence. So another thing to think about is, how much is the HOA amount? Is there a CDD fee? What do those costs look like? Is there a master association or any type of capital contribution that you'll be having to pay at closing? I wanted to mention these couple points in your initial appointments, like where are the floodlights located? Are you able to add more? Where is the house placement on the lot? So typically they will have a diagram of the lots and then like a photo of the house, and they'll tell you exactly where the house will be located on the lot. So you know, like the buffer from the front to the street to the house to the back of the lot. I think it's good to be educated on that ahead of time. Moving the AC, like is the AC unit in a location that you don't mind? It's not, you know, let's say right outside the master bedroom. Thanks so much for tuning in. Next week is the final week of the new construction process series, and we'll be going over closing on your new construction home. Thank you so much again for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.